Welcome. You're seeing a group of enterprise leaders, and we're reviewing optimization and changes to the product. This is something we do each week as we roll out new features and create new solutions. I'm going to ask Azad to lead us through the most recent enhancements. Azad, over to you.
Thank you, Flint. So once again, over the past few weeks, our team has made some significant improvements and additions to the product. One of which, especially after Bill's presentation earlier, you would probably be excited about if he hadn't already discovered it. But I'll just take you through the different items that we've been working on. So one of the improvements that would probably have kind of gone under the radar, but showed up in Bill's screen and also John's screen, is that the way the responses are streamed is a little smoother now and not so aggressive and does look a little more appealing. We were able to complete last week the ability to properly clone workflows and also made sure that the editing that is then associated with said workflows works smoothly. So if you share a workflow with someone with the ability to have edit or owner, they can then edit those workflows. Now, on top of that, the main feature that I wanted to highlight this week is the ability to share workflows externally. Now, if you look at Bill's screen, he was sharing a workflow from a logged in instance. I see his hands up already. He's already pretty excited.
Yeah.
Now, what is probably interesting is that Bill probably doesn't know that he's actually had this feature since towards the end of last week. And I will walk through this. I will walk through this really quickly. So if I go in over here and I scroll down to my workflows, don't worry about the fact that you guys don't get to see these green bubbles. These are internal. I guess only Flint and myself see these. This just means it's shared with MeclabsAI. But you just click over here, you hit this make public button, and then you get the ability to say, this is going to make it visible to everyone. You grant access and you get a copy link. Now with this copy link over here, if I paste this in, without needing to log in, this will work in anywhere, and you don't get to see any of the nav bars or anything anymore. It loads up full screen with the CFD and the workflow. So you can now interact with this whether or not you are a user on MeclabsAI or not. And everything still works fine. You can still interact, build your MCD, switch your builder, et cetera, et cetera.
So let's pause for a moment. In fact, leave that screen up right there. Somebody tell me how you're going to market with this. Somebody tell me why this is important. Shared workflows.
It's a tremendous value and it's unique. What? I don't know how you could get anything you build on ChatGPT or Claude outside of Claude and ChatGPT right now, and put them on any other page. And it's so powerful. I mean,
yes. Peter, I wonder if there's a workflow for planning a travel event. And also, I've been in Mindtrip, and I can tell you right now, I'm not as impressed as I thought I was going to be once I actually got the results back and started playing with it significantly. And I'm not telling you that we can compete or we should even try that. But this is a way, for instance, I could plan a workflow and send it to my kids and have them plan something right along with it. There's 100 ways to do this. Those of you that are planning, John, a whole training program can be just a workflow. Boom.
You can only get to it if you have the link. Is that right?
That is correct.
Like, if we've shared it with someone, can we unshare it later?
Yes. So, and
okay.
I will share this. Okay. So I wanted to clarify. So there is
revoke
the sharing
access. There you go.
Revoke access. So there's the sharing you do within Meclabs, like for users, which is this one, yep. And you can share with your workspaces, etc., and it will show up on the home screen, accessible for everyone that you've shared it to. And then there's this external sharing, which is essentially getting this link. If I revoke access right now, as you can already see, it's instant.
Thank you.
It will go off even if you're already on the page. So as you can see, this then means that, no one can interact with this anymore. So yeah, that's where things are at with this. We're excited to be able to get that into your hands, or it has already been in your hands and you were just not aware. It was a nice little
Azad. So you share a workflow with, so Bill shares a workflow at the event with a pass-through, doesn't have an account. What happened?
Mm-hmm. Then he can work with it. This is essentially the equivalent of the way that, for example, in our internal trainings, you have been using the preview page for CFDs to be able to allow people to access CFDs. This is the way that people who haven't been authenticated into MeclabsAI can still have an experience with their workflow.
Guys, do you realize the power of that? Do you hear what he just said? Because I didn't even know if we'd have that yet. And I'm on this every day. I may ask questions, but as Odd knows, he ends his day with a long recording. And my point for you is there's no governors here except the ones you set, meaning that if you just release a workflow today, John Doe can keep using it until you revoke it.
Of course, yes.
Which means you can create any kind of funnel or marketing experience from this, guys.
But one of the exciting aspects that I already feel pairs very nicely with our external workflows now being a possibility is one of the features we're working on this week, which is the workflows export into a presentation deck, like a beautiful looking presentation deck. So if you think about this, a workflow could actually be something like set up your corporate profile or your church description, or like maybe your church profile. And you could go through 5 steps, build out like different pieces of literature, and then that gets exported into a 10-page PDF. So this feature is currently being worked on. I would assume we would go into testing by the end of tomorrow. And so this isn't too far away. And that already adds a significantly different dynamic to what you're capable of with workflows. Now, an interesting aspect of this, which wouldn't be immediately present, but would follow shortly after, has to do with what Bill just mentioned about lead capture. So when they click on download the PDF, because it takes some time to generate, actually we have them provide their email address for the link to then be provided to them afterwards. Now, when the feature immediately is rolled out, it wouldn't report that email address to you, but it will shortly after when we make our version 1.1 iteration on that. So you can essentially also get the advantage of providing lead magnets and then collecting that lead data in the form of emails as people drop their email addresses to be able to download. So that's one of the interesting changes. Just kind of moving quickly through some of the other things that we have in the works. Last week just involved a lot of fixes. I've already gone over some of them, so I wouldn't kind of take your time with those. Shout out to the devs once again. But then this week, we have started our work on making our MCPs compatible, or making MCP servers compatible. We are still working on the conversation piece, as Flint had suggested, kind of looking at being able to maybe potentially invite people into a test next week for that. We'll see how things go. I guess you'll be updated by the time we have this call next week.
Are we working? We're working with 11 Labs on the voice reproduction, correct?
Yes.
So, team, for those of you that know who 11 Labs are, we're running an API from 11 Labs into the platform. And 11 Labs is the pioneer of voice. Keep going.
Yes. So as Flint mentioned, you'd be able to clone your own voice, etc. Also select from available voices and so on. So just harmonizing the landing page builder, that's still ongoing. That has been happening this week already. Also trying to look into wildcard URL compatibility, as well as some other internal upgrades that we're making just to make sure that things keep running smoothly, such as libraries, just to make sure that, people are still having access to as many robust libraries as possible on their end. But yeah, that's how things are currently looking. And I hope you're already excitedly testing out some of the new features, such as sharing workflows externally, as that is already live on production. Thank you.